They were both born in Alabama. They met at Auburn, and I'm so grateful they ended up in Gainesville because they cover Gainesville like the morning dew. Everywhere you go, you see something that they've contributed to.
They just made things happen and just did it in a way that was so strong and yet so wonderful.
You know, when you say pillars of the community, you really think of E.T. and Vam York, both of them in their own right. Each of them have made such incredible contributions to this community.
I first became acquainted with them with E.T. and Vam's work with the Volunteer Center in Alachua County. And it has been a wonderful thing that they started and have been able to give as a legacy to the people in this county.
I work with both Van and E.T. York on several projects that are in the community. They seem to, always have a heart for working with those that are disadvantaged, that are less.
We certainly attribute the growth of the Volunteer Center both with special projects, and we couldn't have done it without them.
Even when he was ill, it was obvious what a great man he was. And of course I spend a lot of time with Mrs. York, who continues to be a great supporter of the University of Florida and of IFAS.
E.T. York is the father of IFAS, and Vam was right there with him all the way.
If he could come back and see where IFAS is today, I think he would be very proud that we have carried on with his legacy. IFAS consists of extremely bright and creative men and women who are actually changing the world.
I met Dr. York when we were talking about building this hospice house. This facility took a lot of people involved in a lot of ways, and it was his leadership that said, of course we can do it. So one day I had an appointment on my calendar from Vam York. So she came in and she said, E.T. has been so moved by this whole involvement with hospice. She said, I would like to name the hospice house after him. And I don't want him to know. I want it to be a surprise. And it really took my breath away.
Vam has been right in the middle of it all. She's been right there with him. She's been deeply involved in the community activities.
We are the second oldest community playhouse in the state of Florida. We're a volunteer group. We sorely needed a new building, and they stepped up, and voila, here we have this beautiful theater.
One day at handed out material, and one day at church I saw Dr. York. He said, Bob, yes sir, Dr. York. He said, Vam and I'd like to do something for your fundraising campaign. I said, yes sir, I'd be glad to have you. Then he said, how much would it cost to name the building for Vam? I don't know. I said, I'll find out and let you know.
It is now called the VAM. And you'll hear kids all over town saying, I'll meet you at the VAM. Or what time is rehearsal at the VAM? Or do you have tickets for the VAM? And I just think it's very nice that it's become so personalized.
The Altrusa Scholarships were named in honor of 5 outstanding Altrusans, including Vam Cardwell York. Vam's gift, combined with the total fundraising efforts of the overall Altrusa organization, have collectively provided for 107 Altrusa scholarships to date that have been awarded to re-entry women aged 25 or older in our community for full-time study at Santa Fe College.
Of all the unions I've ever met, that's truly one of the closest partnerships that I've ever been exposed to.
And that was the way they were. If he needed her support, she gave it. If she needed his support, he gave it.
Both E.T. and Vam have been longtime members of Rotary. On the local level, E.T. and Vam both wanted to acknowledge and recognize strong community leaders, and they established an award, which is certainly the most prestigious award the Rotary Club of Gainesville bestows. And to honor the Yorks, the Rotary Club of Gainesville has named it the E.T. and VAM York Service Above Self Award.
I've had a front row seat in most of their charitable gifts and have pretty good knowledge of it. They had a very strong force in shaping my values as a young man, and was very, very close to them. They were like a second mom and dad.
The Yorks were a very community-oriented person that were not selfish, and they were just out to help those that were in need.
True role models. You can't get any more devoted or dedicated to the community than E.T. was and VAM is.